being 6:05 and our meeting was supposed to start at 6, I think it's a good idea for us to get going. So thank you all for coming. The purpose of our meeting tonight is this is a public information hearing, and the reason why we're having it is because the governor has said that we're not allowed to gather in public due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore we're not having our regular town meeting as a, where we all gather and we have a floor vote to discuss all of our items of business for the coming year. So we're doing our town meeting vote by Australian ballot. It's a written ballot. There's no opportunity for discussion. So this is a public information meeting that is a requirement for when you have an Australian ballot vote. So that's our purpose here tonight. And I just have a little bit of boilerplate that I need to read. First, I'll introduce myself. I'm Ann Lawless. I'm the current chair of the select board. And also on the select board, we have Bobby Jo Norcross. You might be able to see her number. She's 802-626-0705. Do you want to just say hi, Bobby?
Hello.
Thanks. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic and because of Addendum 6 to the Executive Order 01020 and Act 92, this body is authorized to meet electronically. So, in accordance with Act 92, because there's no physical location to observe and listen together to the meeting, so we are therefore holding this public access meeting with access offered through video conferencing and telephone. So the way we would like to do the meeting to make it easy for everyone to hear is to ask that people, for the most part, keep themselves muted, put their settings on mute, and then when you would like to essentially raise your hand or request to speak, you can do that if you're on video by just raising your hand or signifying in the chat box. And we'll also provide an opportunity for people who are coming in by phone to speak as well, so that they're not left out of the process. So, and anybody who's having an issue, they are invited to contact Vanessa Seguin. She's our town clerk, and she's at the office on this hearing. So you can email her, wheelocktown@gmail.com, or just give her a call on the office phone, 626-9094. So we've provided notice for the meeting like we're required to. Their instructions are on the website, and where we post our notices in our physical, our paper notices at the town office and at the transfer station and at the South Wheelock Fire Station. And there's also information about the actual town meeting warning and how you can get your ballot and how you can vote. So if for sometimes there are issues with electronic meetings. We hope we won't have any difficulties tonight, but if you have a problem, again, contact Vanessa, 626-9094. You can text her at 802-274-3610 or email wheelocktown@gmail.com. So if something happens and the electronic meeting totally falls apart, we will reconvene it. We have time. There's the time requirements of how soon or how far away from ballot vote to hopefully we won't need to. So I'd like to thank our longtime moderator, Peter Miller, for participating. We're very glad to have his help today, contributing a sense of normalcy for this very unnormal town meeting process. So thank you, Peter. And then I'd also like to thank Jamie Dimmick. I'm sorry, Peter?
Hopefully I'll be able to help.
Yeah, you already have, just by your presence. And I'd also like to thank Jamie Dimmick at Kingdom Access TV. They're our public access TV in St. Jay, and they are recording this hearing, and so is Vanessa for our town records. So KATV has very kindly offered to broadcast this live on Spectrum TV channel 194, and to broadcast it after it's finished. There's a bunch of times that they've plugged us into their schedule, and they're also going to post it on their YouTube channel, and information about how you can watch this again if you would like to. Those are on our town website as well. So let's see. We're going to ask that before, we're going to go, sort of a couple of articles at a time and just go through them all. And then we ask that if you do want to speak, just state your name before you pose your question or your comment, and that's for the record. And I'd also like to thank Nick Fish from News 7 for being with us tonight, and also Ruth Marquette. She is representing Northeast Kingdom Human Services. So thank you all. So let's get started. Do you want to read the first article, Peter?
Sure. We're going to be doing Article 1 and 2 according to the agenda in this first segment, and hopefully spend no more than 15 minutes doing it according to the agenda. So Article 1 is to elect a moderator for the ensuing year. Now remember, we're not voting on this. I'm just reading it off. I guess either you or I can just ask for comments or questions.
Sure. Does anybody have any comments or questions?
I guess, Peter Miller, you know what? We didn't introduce each other formally like that thing said. So I'm Peter Miller, and I'm the current moderator. Did Vanessa introduce herself?
Vanessa Seguin, Town Clerk Treasurer.
Okay, good. And Bobby Joe?
Bobby Joe Norcross, Select Board.
Excellent. So are there any further comments on the Article 1? Seeing none, let's move to Article 2. And this is to elect all town officers required by law and the Select Board member for a 3-year term. Now, once again, we're not voting on these people. Today, this will be done on March 2nd, but this is an opportunity for comments, questions. I don't think the candidates are here that are running. So I guess, yeah, Vanessa.
The candidates on the ballot for the Select Board 3-year term is Ryan Hanrahan and Jim Blackbird. And I can keep going if you'd like.
Yes, Ian.
I just want to add that Ryan is serving out the term that the Select Board term that Jason DiGiulio had to give up in December, And Ryan was hoping, he was planning on being on this call tonight, but he wasn't able to be because of a whole bunch of really complicated COVID-related things happening at work. So he did say that he would try to pop on if he could. He had intended to be here.
Well, I like the look of it, like a lot of pouring over the side, and I love it. It makes it look appetizing. I don't know.
I feel like that's
Other comments on
I'm gonna leave it. I like the look.
on that portion, select board? Hearing none, let's go to Lister for a 3-year term.
Peter,
Yes.
do we know if Ryan has decided if he's going to, I know that he has to stay on the ballot, but have we decided, or has Ryan decided if he's still wanting to run or not?
How about it, Ann?
I've heard from Ryan, I think he said this at a select board meeting, that he didn't think that he was going to be able to run, even if, I mean, that he couldn't, if he gets elected, he's not going to accept the job.
Right.
Too many things have come up in the rest of his life to make it possible for him to fulfill this commitment. And he just wasn't able to get that decision made in time to meet the deadline to get his name removed from the ballot.
No.
So we just want to make sure that people know, as many people as we can, that Ryan is not going to accept it, even if he's voted in.
So, Peter Miller, I would just like to point out that he's got 10 days to change his mind. So we don't want to put the cart before the horse here. I don't know any better than anybody, but I'm just saying it's not official yet. Any further comment on select board? Don't understand that, so we'll move on to Lister. Ann, did you want to announce yes, Vanessa, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I was just going to say that running for Lister on the ballot is Carol Rossi.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay, I haven't heard any. How about auditor? Yes, Vanessa.
Running for auditor on the ballot is Kim Crady Smith.
Okay. Any comments on the auditor position? Okay, let's move on to delinquent tax collector. Yes, Vanessa.
There's no candidate on the ballot for delinquent tax collector.
Okay.
I have been in touch with the existing delinquent tax collector and she is interested. That is Emily Purdy. She just didn't fulfill the requirement to get her name on the ballot, but she is interested in the position.
Well, we really never really had to do that before to get on the ballot, so I can understand.
I explained that to her. I said, I don't think I would lose sleep over it, but of course it's different for everybody. So.
Okay, any further comments there? Hearing none, we'll move on to first constable for a one-year term.
There are no names on the ballot for first constable. The existing first constable is Charles Lackalade.
Charles is interested in maintaining that.
I don't know that. I don't know that. I haven't been in touch with him.
Any further comment there? Okay, second constable for a one-year term. Yes, Vanessa.
On the ballot is Addie Seguin. He is here tonight with the baby, our baby. And his name is on the ballot.
Good. Any comment there or questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to Article 3. Shall the voters approve expenditures in the amount of $125,274.60 for the general fund to meet the expenses and liabilities of the town for the ensuing year? Any comments on that? Yes.
I'd be willing to speak to that.
Please.
The select board, well, if you have your copy of the town report, you can see,
I got it now.
you can see the budget summary starts on page 12, I think. And the general fund budget starts on page 15. So, and you can see there a comparison going back several years, including a comparison with last year's budget and actuals. So our big goal this year was to try to keep the budget as low as we could, considering that this is a very difficult year for many people. And, but we also had some constraints, like the main thing being the amount of cash on hand that we have going into this year is way lower than what we had on hand last year. So a few of the changes, that we made. So we budgeted this year $125,274.60, as Peter said. Last year we budgeted $135,757, and we came out in actuals at $121,413.66. So we tried to, we tried to stay as close as we could. We did give some of our staff 3% raises because they were really, the wages were, they just were really, really low. Let's see. When we were working on the budgets, we started in December. We met multiple times. I think we met a total of 3 times. Some of the main ways that we were able to save money against last year's budget where we didn't have to make a big office expense that we had thought we were going to do. And I think that's a tribute to Vanessa's creativity in getting things up and running, making do with what we have and not just trying to buy something that was maybe not as necessary as we thought it might be. let's see, is there anything you want to add, Bobby Joe?
No, that sounds good.
This will come up later when we get to, oh, go ahead, Vanessa. You're muted.
I was just going to speak to the cash on hand. I think it falls in between this article and the next article, but it also has to do with setting the tax rate in July. We used a cash on hand at the beginning of the year, and this year it's significantly lower than it was at the beginning of last year. And I did some research into that as to why that was. And one of the things I found is that our delinquent tax collector brought in, let me just see here. At the end of 2019, she brought in $60,000 in delinquent taxes in December alone. And so that bumped our cash on hand up quite a bit, January 1st, 2020, because she brought in a lot. In comparison, this year, she brought in $34,000 in December. So that's like a $36,000 difference. So that was one of the biggest things I was able to find in the cash on hand. Total delinquent taxes brought in, the difference between this year and last year is $26,000. So that does make a difference when you're looking at your cash on hand, but I think it has to do with the fact that she deposited a big chunk in December. And so it looked like we had a lot of money or cash on hand in December. Usually from what I can see, I'm new at this position, but from what I can see, when we're into July and August, the town is borrowing at that point because we're paying our bills on borrowed money at that point, because we've collected all our taxes and paid all our bills up until that point. And then what do we do now? We have something called a non-arbitrage account that we used to vote on to authorize the borrowing, but I guess it's not necessary anymore. We just do it. So that has to. The board votes on it. True. The board. It used to be a town meeting article that the people voted on, but now the board votes on it. So that was one of the biggest things I found that was reflective as to the difference in the cash on hand. I just wanted to put that out there. And we use that cash on hand when we set the tax rate in July, because in July we might have more. However, we're working on borrowed money, so we have to use a starting point of January 1st. And again, I'm still learning all of this, but that was something that I learned this year.
Anybody else have a comment to make? No? Okay, so we'll move on to Article 4, and I'll read it. Shall the voters approve expenditures in the amount of $326,351 for the maintenance of its highways, including summer roads, winter roads, and state aid resurfacing? Yes. You're muted.
Trying to unmute. I'd be happy to speak to that, Peter. Thank you. This is Ann Lawless. Let's see. Last year, we budgeted $340,808, and we came in considerably under budget, and that was because we were, I think one of the main reasons why was because we had a pretty large item in there, because we didn't have a full-time road crew, so we had all these temporary hires in there in our budget. But we were able to hire Dean Davis last spring. I think it was in March. So that sort of stabilized our operations. And then let's see. So we actually spent $305,831 instead of what we had budgeted last year. So then the question is, well, how come if we only spent $305,831 last year, why are we budgeting $326? I think one of the main reasons is because over the past few years, we've really tried hard to, I'm not quite sure how to say it, bring our compensation package up to standards that are similar to the towns around us, so that we can keep our valued employees, because when you lose someone and you have to rehire, it's actually very costly. So one of the things we added this year was we added a retirement plan to the compensation package, and the employees pay into that. It's a structured thing. You know, they contribute as well as the town. So that's, you know, that is contributing to the budget. And we're fortunate to have Malcolm Bisson, our road supervisor, on the call tonight. So maybe you want to add, is there anything you'd like to add, Malcolm?
Well, no, there's not much I need to add. I feel I've managed to save the town a bunch of money this year, which would contribute to why there was some, you know, we didn't use as much in the budget. Dean has been a real big help and a big asset as far as I'm concerned to hire. He has done a great job with us so far. And I was sorry to see the budget get cut, because I would like to have done more this year, but we'll do what we can this year with what we've got. I understand times right now are tough, and I ain't no different than anybody else in this town. I don't want to pay any more taxes. My taxes are high enough. So I really don't have much more to add other than that.
Does anybody else have any comments that they'd like? You haven't gotten any phone calls, Vanessa, about people unable to connect? Nothing. Okay. Peter Miller, I guess I had a question. How about the proposed sand allotment for next year for winter roads? How's that look? Similar to this year?
I'm looking, this is Ann again. I'm looking in the budget. It's on page 14. We budgeted 18,000 last year. We spent 17.5 this year, and we budgeted 16,000 for 2021. So we're hoping to come in a little lower than what we actually spent last year. $1,500 lower than what we spent last year.
If our sand pile, Malcolm Besson, road foreman, if our sand pile holds out as well as it has been, the 16,000 should do us. It's difficult to count on anything this far ahead, but there's still plenty of winter left.
Yes, Vanessa.
There was one item in the road fund budget that I just wanted to put out there. It is the health insurance for the road crew. I think that one might have got missed. Last year, the town budgeted 18,000 and we only spent 9,000. This piggybacks on what Ann said. Last year, we only had one employee with the health insurance. This year, we budgeted again 19,000, And that's because we have another employee who's elected to take that benefit. So while we over budgeted last year and it looks like we came in way under, the board continued to appear to over budget, but that's because we've had another employee accept that benefit. So the board had to continue with that figure. And that was a big one, so I thought I'd call that out.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that, actually, Vanessa, because I'm looking at this and you're right. It actually was the health insurance piece, not the retirement piece.
Yeah, we've had a health. Yeah, you're right.
Thank you.
Any other questions anybody has about the article? Okay, let's move to Article 5 then. Shall the voters authorize payment of real estate taxes to the treasurer on or before the first Friday of November annually with the U.S. Postal Service postmark accepted? Any comments on that? Normally that's a kind of a pro forma thing. It needs to be in the warning, but I don't remember having much discussion about it. Yes, Vanessa.
Normally, Article 5 and 6 in the warning are combined, like you said, as like a pro forma thing at town meeting. So 5 and 6 are usually, number one, can we collect taxes on this date and accept postmarks? And number two, can we impose penalty and interest? But this year we just, I thought it might be best if we broke them out in case one passes and one doesn't. So it's kind of, you don't know what you're going to get with this Australian ballot kind of thing. Nobody knows what they're going to get. So we broke those out this year. And Article 7, which I think we're covering here too. It all has to do with the collection of taxes. And Article 7, you haven't read that yet, but I'll let you get to that. That was a request made by Emily Purdy, who's the delinquent tax collector.
Any further comments on anything here on that article? Okay, I see nothing, so let's move to Article 6 then. So the town vote that overdue taxes will bear interest at a rate of 1% per month or fraction thereof, from the due date of such tax and a penalty of 7% pursuant to 32 VSA section 5136. Any comments here? Hearing none, let's move on to Article 7. Shall the town allow a grace period of 30 days from the established date of current tax payment, during which the collector of delinquent taxes shall charge a 1% penalty instead of 7% on payments made in full pursuant to 36 VSA section 1674, 3 and B. I don't remember this in past town meetings. Yes, Vanessa.
So again, that's something that Emily requested be put in the ballot. Basically what it's asking is if she can offer a grace period of the first month in charge. Of course, Emily, the delinquent tax collector, collects the penalty. So she's basically requesting that the voters approve a 1% penalty instead of 7% during the first month. So grace period. And she can do that.
Now, isn't the penalty considered her payment for doing the job?
Yes, and that's why she can do that.
Right. So I was gonna say Carol used to be the delinquent tax collector, and she used to do that all the time anyway. I don't remember hearing any votes or articles on it, but she did it anyhow. It was considered her pay, so.
She just didn't take any payment.
Right.
So
Any further comments on that? Okay, let's move to Article 8 then. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 to be added to the $16,011 already in the Town Hall Project Reserve Fund to be used for major repair and rehabilitation work on the Wheelock Town Hall? Any comments on that? Yes, Ann.
Thank you. When we looked at all of these articles for these sort of special appropriations for reserve funds, we, for the most part, we wanted to keep them separate, as we usually do, keep them out of the main budget so that they wouldn't drag the budget down. But we also felt that it was important for us as a town to be able to contribute to these funds, because having them is going to save us money in the long run, because we won't have to borrow so much when we get to the point where we can actually do some of this work. So that was kind of our thinking as we were going along.
Yes, Vanessa.
I just wanted to point out that this article specifically, in connection with the Town Hall Project Reserve Fund, last year, the voters approved an appropriation of $30,000, and I used approximately $21,000 of that to pay off the loan. There was a town hall loan, and so now it's been paid off, paid in full, so we don't have that anymore. And so that's why that reserve fund is a little bit lower with 16,000 in it. But I just want to point that out, that we did pay off the loan this year in connection with that.
Good, thank you.
So our thinking was that if we could just continue at the same level, we wouldn't, it would help our reserve fund, but it actually wouldn't be making an increase on people's taxes. We would just be basically keeping it the same. And we are making progress on our town hall project, our town hall accessibility project, as you can read in the select board report.
Any further discussion or review in that article? Okay, we'll move to Article 9. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $7,000 to be added to the $72,976 already in the reserve fund under control of the select board for bridge repair, replacement, and/or major road repair? Any comments from anyone?
Again, with this one, we felt the same way. We know that we have needs in town, and if we can squirrel away money into that fund, it's going to help us. And one of the ways it can help us is sometimes if we apply for a grant and matching funds are required, we have that money available.
I guess, Peter Miller, I guess, are there any planned renovations that would require any kind of that draw this year?
Well, we know, and Malcolm, I hope you'll chime in and Bobby as well. We know that we have 3 very needy bridges in town, We have the bridge at the foot of Standard Mountain beside the Green Schoolhouse. We had applied for a grant for that to work on that one last year, but the state wasn't giving out any money for that fund. So we've resubmitted the application in, it's due April 2021, and we've already submitted it. So that's one needy bridge. The second needy bridge, and probably the next highest priority one, is the twin bridges on Peak Road, right at the corner when you come off 122. And that, I mean, I don't even want to think about what that one is going to cost, because it's basically two bridges. And like the bridge, the first bridge I mentioned at the foot of Standard Mountain on the South Wheelock Road, they both date from right around, I think it's like 1930 or 1935 or something, is sort of right after, well, I don't know if they were installed right after the 1927 flood. But anyway, they're plenty old. And I think they have documented needs. And then the third bridge, which isn't anywhere near as important because it is not, because the road there, it just doesn't take as much traffic. That's the foot of Minister Hill Road at the corner of the South Wheelock Road. That one is also, it has also documented needs, but it basically leads to a dead end on Red Schoolhouse Road, and a road that's partially class 4, or that's partially closed and is partially closed in the winter. So that's why that one is the third priority. I personally don't know which one is, if one of those is in worse condition than the other. I know that the one at the foot of Standard Mountain Road is much more of a safety hazard, because you're coming down a really steep hill and you have to make a sharp turn. So that's as far as bridges go. We have many, as everybody who drives in Wheelock knows, we do have some segments of road that definitely could use some attention if we had a little extra to time and resources.
Well, in my opinion, the bridge on the South Wheelock Road at the bottom of Standard Mountain is definitely the highest priority. It really is. But the one on Minister Hill is a higher priority than is realized. That one was looked at and is being undermined by the river. The abutments are. So that one on Minister Hill is actually very high priority. The twin bridges down here, one of those bridges, off from 122, the first one you come on to isn't all that old. The second one, that one probably dates back into the 20s and the 30s. But the first one off 122 doesn't appear to be all that old. We haven't had anybody look at it and give any assessments on the real damage of that. We're just, the condition of it, because right now we're just going on what was been said by past road foremen.
The bridge, the worst bridge that Ann was talking about, the one at the foot of Standard Mountain Road, is that a concrete bridge or stone, or what kind of construction is it? Just give me the 30-second version.
That is a combination of both, Peter. It's got stone abutments with a concrete deck.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay, let's move on to Article 10 then. So the town raise and appropriate the sum of $25,000 to be added to the 85,516 already in the road equipment replacement fund be used for the purchase of new equipment. Yes.
And just for a comment, we do have equipment that does need to be replaced. Our loader does need to be replaced. I tried to replace it last year, so to me, that's a very viable expenditure.
Last year, this is Ann, last year, we voted to put in 37,000 to the road equipment replacement fund. This year, we went back and forth quite a bit because we know that we need to, some of our equipment is getting really old in addition to the loader. So we decided to land on the sum of 25,000 to put in the budget instead of 37,000 that we asked for last year. And the reason was we just wanted to kick it up over so that it was over 100,000 while still not asking, while still being thoughtful about the taxpayers, the burden on the taxpayers. And if we were at a floor meeting, I guess I think we could be discussing that.
It came on. 9929. Yes, Vanessa.
I believe that's Emily Purdy, the delinquent tax collector.
Oh, great.
Welcome, Emily.
Hi, Emily. Is she muted?
No.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, now.
Okay, yes. Hi, I'm here. I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm going to put myself on mute so I can listen. Unless anybody has something that they'd like to say to me.
Emily, it's Vanessa. I just wanted to let you know that we are on Article 10, which is the reserve fund. So we're almost halfway through the warning.
Okay. Thank you.
And if you have a comment, just speak up. Anybody else have a comment on Article 10? Hearing nothing, we'll go to Article 11. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $16,500 to be added to the $83,588 already in the town garage reserve fund to be used for addressing the needs for a town garage? Any comments on that?
This is Ann.
Yes.
Last year we approved 35,000 for the town garage fund. So this year we're asking for a little less than half of that. And again, that's just to make sure we don't have too much of a burden on the taxpayers.
Yes, Malcolm.
I appreciate the burden on the taxpayers. Again, I am one. My name is Malcolm Besson, and I myself would like to see a lot more put into the garage replacement fund. Maybe that's just me being partial to the idea of it because I work in the garage every day, and I know what it's like in there. So, but we get what we get, I guess.
Yes, Vanessa.
Are there any, I kind of know where this stands, but what are the plans for the town garage? Like, do we have any? I mean, we've got 83.5 in the reserve account, plus if this article passes, that's 16.5. What do we have planned for the town garage? Where would that get us?
This won't get us very far. This is Malcolm again. It won't get us very far.
Not today, right?
Yeah, we had a couple of plans for a new town garage to be built or to purchase, and they ended up, well, the one we were going to purchase ended up in a flood zone, and we were having a hard time getting insurance on it. But to build one, that's not going to go very far. We've had prices come in at over $1 million for a new town garage, town hall, and the whole 9 yards. And to repair this one, it's really not worth repairing. What we're going to have to do, I've got tin that's getting ready to fly off the roof. I got water that leaks in through the roof every time the snow thaws or it rains. Today we were fishing nuts and bolts and lights out of a puddle of water in the garage because that's where it always gathers every time we pack a truck in there, because we had to plug the drain. So as far as how far will it get us?
And honestly,
I don't think it's going to get us very far. Honestly.
And really, how many people would go to work and go to work with a porta potty?
That's besides the thing.
Yeah, for most people.
That was my wife, by the way.
Yes. And
This is Ann. We have the U.S. Department of Justice pushing down on us to address the accessibility issue at the town hall. And in our planning to address that problem, we're trying to work towards a solution to the garage. So the current municipal planning grant that we got, the outcome of that grant is going to be 2 concepts for the town hall. One, a new building, and the other one, keep the current building and do an addition. And then the third piece of the architectural part of that project is to site, like basically make sure there's a place where we could move. Well, I don't mean move the current building because it's not really movable, but site a new garage on that parcel. And I think once we can sort of make progress towards what the Department of Justice wants us to do, our next giant priority is the town garage. And I think it's sort of like, I think we're wise to consider the projects as interconnected, because we do have that large parcel of land where the town hall sits, and there's room there, we believe, for a new garage to be placed. And I think that once we get through this planning period, we have to move forward with the garage, because it is a total embarrassment, and we're lucky to have our road crew be willing to work in such adverse conditions. So.
hey, Vanessa.
Oh, my husband can go first.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't. He's sort of in the dark, so. Go ahead, Addie.
Sorry about that, baby went to bed. So, and it's not very often that you let me go first in speaking. That's right. Thank you, Mrs. Siegel, for that. But is a question on the town garage and the town clerk office and all that stuff. So is that the only, like, the 3 what ifs options that board and also like the committee looking into that, you know, those 3 options? Is that like the only alternative that the town has for, you know, a new town garage? Because you know, I second what Malcolm said too, and you know, I know it's a tough year, and you can't, you know, draw blood from a stone, especially this year. So you know, 16,000 is better than a sharp stick in the eye. You know, the way I see it. So to add into the, you know, the amount of money that we're setting aside, but other than that, that's the only 3 options that we have. Is something.
To try to answer your question, Addie, I think we have a lot of options. The question is, how much money can we spend? Can we afford to spend looking at all the options? Because it costs money. I mean, it costs money to develop proposals that are, because this isn't these are really complicated. They're complicated issues. Like, what are the requirements for, you know, public safety in a garage that has, you know, that has hazardous materials? You know, that's just one example of how complex this is. So because we've gone ahead and gotten the municipal planning grant, the town actually isn't kicking in any of its own money to develop those proposals. And we're going to bring those proposals to the voters through a series of public meetings, and eventually, you know, to choose which concept for the town hall. But I think if people told us and they said, look, we want you to explore 5 options for the garage, then we would have to decide how much money we want to spend on that, find the resources to make those, to develop those concepts. And I think we would be willing to do all that. And I just want to recognize the work of the facilities task force that did considerable work starting in the spring of last year, and they wound up, well, they sort of, I guess they kind of still exist, but they haven't met that recently because they've kind of morphed into the project committee for this planning grant. It's required that you have a community project committee.
So Vanessa, and then Addie again.
Is there anything that we can do with these funds now to improve the conditions in the town garage now for our employees? I mean, okay, so it won't buy us a new garage, but what can we do with the funds now? Maybe not use, you know, maybe not squirrel them away for matching grant fund potential funds, but what can we do with the money now to make that a better working condition for your employees?
The way the article, thanks, Peter. The way the article is written, I don't see why we could not spend the money on our current garage. That's my opinion, because the way it's written, it says, shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $16,500 to be added to the $83,588 already in the town garage reserve fund to be used for addressing the needs for a town garage. I mean, you could say, yeah, by fixing some of the worst problems, we could address the needs of our current town garage. I would think we could if we wanted to.
I would hope so. I would hope there's some money somewhere that would allow for, you know, removal of black mold in the building and puddles on the floor and tin falling off the roof. There's got to be money somewhere for that. And I think, I mean, looking at this, if we're saying that money isn't going to buy us a new building, which obviously, but can we use it can we address some of the needs? I mean, I don't know. I mean, the work that you're doing and with the committee is definitely long range. I mean, I know the needs are now, but it's not going to happen. I know the needs for both are now, but we also have needs in the town garage that are now too. And I just feel like if we could make some improvements, I mean, even temporary improvements to the town garage, just, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. That's just how I feel. I just feel like we should make it a little bit better of a working environment for them. I know they don't spend a lot of time in there. You know, I mean, it's not like how I sit in this office, you know, but, you know, like you said, it's embarrassing. It's just.
It is.
Can't have and we have equipment in there. Like we have equipment that we buy and the taxpayers buy. And if we have tin falling off the roof, what is that doing to our equipment? It just, I don't know. We've got to be able to put some money into that and not I don't think it'll put us out down the road when we're looking for grants to rebuild a garage. But I don't know. I just feel like we've got to put some money into it.
Well, Peter Miller, it sounds like some of the needs have reached the point of not an emergency, but an urgent need. For example, if someone backed into the garage door, or if something happened to the garage doors so they wouldn't go up so you could access equipment, you would spend the money to get that fixed. You wouldn't go to the select board, to the townspeople and ask for that. You would fix that because it has to be done. And is there anything else in the garage, the roof, for example, or anything along that line that really should be done at this point? I know if you have a building and there's no roof on it, if the roof's bad, you don't have a building 5 years from now. Malcolm.
Well, as someone who's in that building every day, I can attest that there's a lot that can be done. I believe it was the board had moved on not doing any repairs to the building because they wanted to just purchase a new one. My opinion is yes, we have this money. I think we should be putting a roof on the garage. Water running in on top of my desk on paperwork, shorting out the furnace. Something needs to be done with that roof. I have areas on the walls that you can just look up and see black mold. So, in my opinion, we should take this money and try to repair this garage. As Vanessa said, we have equipment in there. We have roughly $1.5 million, $2 million worth of equipment in that building. Not that it can't withstand weather, but you know, we have a building to house this material, these pieces, and the building should be repaired. We have this money, we should do it. It's to take this money to build a new building that might get you a floor, and that's about all it's going to get you. You won't have walls or ceiling or heat or wiring or anything of that nature. In fact, I think there's like 3 plans down there that were drawn up by architects for buildings for the garages, and the plans alone were $30,000-$40,000 just for the plans, and still have no building. So to me, to spend this money on a plan, I'd rather spend it on the building and get something a little bit safer and a little bit warmer and a little bit better place to work.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it's more of a priority, you know, just as much of a priority than it is, you know, the town hall and, you know, all these other things that we want to make it look nice too. Because, you know, I think it is a, you know, a priority now, you know, to get some of these, you know, really serious issues addressed. Because, you know, damp and moisture does not go good with anything to do with gasoline, diesel, oil, hydraulics, you know, cylinders. You have a lot of, you'll have a lot of fluids, different kind of fluids, holding in these really cold cast and metal equipment, and that takes even longer. It's hard equipment, when it's not warm, or it's especially when it's damp out, and there's a lot of moisture can occur there too. And then the other thing too is, if you had like an idea or like something to you about like the town garage, for instance, do you go to the select board and let them know, or is it just a waste of time? And they already have their decisions made up, and they got their handful of ideas and grants and all that business, or is it worth it to throw in your 10 cents and maybe throw an idea, or maybe a solution for that? Is it helpful, or is that just waste time?
Yes. Willa.
Addie, would you like to volunteer for the committee, the project committee that's looking into the town hall and town garage? We're looking for members.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think on that. I've been on a bunch of different committees, and I don't know. Sometimes I feel like my time is limited, especially with a young family, and we're busy as it is. And sometimes I don't know. It's like, I feel like you've wasted your life when people don't listen to you, or take anything in consideration. Well, you have to, because they already have their mind made up or whatever. So I don't know. I'd have to think on that.
Please do. We're looking for new members to join us. We could use another person.
Vanessa, did you have something?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Bobby had something that she wanted to add.
Yes, this is Bobby Joe. I think we all know, we've gone over this so many times, what's wrong with the garage. So let's move forward with starting with getting bids on the roof.
I believe we did get, this is Malcolm Besson again. I believe we did get a couple of bids on the roof, or we got one bid on the roof. I don't know whatever came of it.
Plugged in the strip behind my chair, and it's on the floor. I don't want to run out of gas. Yes, Ann.
This is Ann. I'm not aware of that, but those bids might have come in before I was on the select board. I don't know if maybe Enid, having been on the facilities task force and still on the project committee, did your committee ever turn up any prior bids? And to Addie's point, I don't want anyone in town to think that the select board is not approachable. And I don't want anyone to think that their ideas are not welcome, because that's not how I personally feel. And I think that we're so much more successful when we can work together. So I would really hope you would consider joining that work committee, Addie. And I know it's a lot of work, and I know it's hard when you have a small family, a young family, because I've been there. It was a while ago, but you don't forget that stuff. So I know it's hard, but we really need people. The more people we have with different perspectives, the more successful we will be. I really believe that.
Bobby Joe?
Yes.
Your light came on.
I'm sorry, Peter, I didn't hear what you said.
It looked like you were going to say something. The little square around your telephone number came up, and that's the only way I know that you're interested in talking. So,
Well, I think that even if we got estimates before, those are probably not any good or even close to any good anymore, just because the price of materials has skyrocketed. So I think we need to start with getting new estimates for the roof and pushing forward with doing just that.
This is Malcolm, and yes, I agree with that statement 100%.
anybody else have comments on the town garage? This article. Yes.
Only that people should remember that any money they take from this fund for repairs now, which are desperately needed, there's going to be that much more money that has to be raised, say 5 or 6 years down the road or less than that, when a new garage is actually built. And they should just keep that in mind. That's all.
And I believe that's what's inhibited any past repairs using this money. It hasn't been the select board as much as it is just trying to hold this money in the hopes of building a new garage so nothing gets done on the old one. So I believe you're right on the money with that one. And costs go up every year. What it costs this year, it's going to cost twice next.
Hey, anyone else? Okay, let's move on to Article 12 then. Shall the town vote to raise and appropriate a sum not to exceed $5,000 for repair of the Sulphur Spring Pavilion? Yes, Bobby Joe. Guess not. Okay.
We first of all need to decide if the town folks want to put money into the building, because there's also talk of the roller going to the museum in Peacham. And I checked with Peacham and they do have room for it. We just need to make a decision and let them know if we're going to loan it to the museum and what's the town's pleasure as far as if we send it to the museum on loan, if they want to continue to keep putting money into the pavilion with nothing under it.
Anyone speak to the what's proposed for the pavilion? Just to get it off the ground here. Yes, Ann.
And Bobby, you may have more information at your fingertips than I do about this. But I think we got a couple of proposals to repair that roof on the pavilion. If for people who don't know where and what it is, it's on Route 122 it's sort of near the garage. It's a little tiny parcel of land that the town owns. It's not actually on Route 122. I forget the name of the road that it's on. But it's the pavilion. I'm sorry?
It's on Sulphur Springs Road.
There you go. So it's a structure that just has a roof and it has no walls, and it covers. It was built, I think, in, I'm going to guess, 1915-ish to hold the old snow roller. It's I think that the board got a couple of quotes on fixing the roof, and it's, as like many things in Wheelock, it's more, there's more to it than it first looks. And once you get into it, you start seeing that there's other things that are wrong with it. Like it's sitting on it's sitting on what looks like sonotubes, and one of them is tilted. So it's really hard to know what to do with it. And I mean, it's not my role to speak personally, but I guess it is one of the historic things in Wheelock that we would love to keep hold of. Is it as important as the town garage? No. Is it as important as having the threat of a lawsuit from the Department of Justice because we don't have accessibility in the town hall? No. That's the only way I can fathom it. Yes, we'd love to do it, but how important is it?
But we do need to make a decision, though, as to whether we are sending it to the museum or not. We need to let them know, as we've checked into it a couple of times at least. And I know that the last time when Peachum agreed to take it, then for some reason, I don't know if the town backed out, changed their mind. I'm not really sure what happened, but there's time and hours and stuff involved in asking Peachum if they will take it to preserve it so that it's not out in the weather, and being respectful of their time and checking into whether they can take it or not. I need to get back to them in the spring and let them know if it's going there or we've changed our mind again.
Hey, Vanessa?
From a treasurer's perspective, since it's on the ballot, if this does pass and we do send the roller to the Peachum Museum, this money has now been set aside and we can't use it for anything else. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that if this article does pass, we will have to set aside $5,000 for this purpose, whether it goes to the museum or not. Just same with, like, for example, the Dios property last year that the voters approved that we haven't moved forward with. The money kind of just has to sit there until we decide what to do with it. And so I just wanted to throw that out there, that these funds are going to sit there tied up until the town, whether the roller's there or not. Just thought I'd put that out there.
Peter Miller, I think the wording of the article says a sum not to exceed 5,000. That doesn't really say that it has to be 5,000. It could be $1. I'm just pointing that out. That's my reading of it.
Yeah, I do see that, but I mean, we would have to set aside a sum not to exceed. So my point of view, we'd have to at least allocate that much at least. But maybe I'm wrong.
Vanessa, I know that it was less than, I'm very sure that it was less than $2,000, but that was only to repair the hole that's in it. And it depends on how much people want to soak into it. Do they want the other side done as well? While he's right there, then it's going to be more.
I'm just talking about the wording in the article. Yes, Malcolm, I'm sorry.
It's okay. That's fine. I just wanted to say that I have to excuse myself from the meeting now. I have to make an errand downtown to pick up my grandson. So I'm sorry, but I'll have to leave the meeting at this point. I don't know. I don't really have much to say about the Sulphur Springs roller or the building. It's been an issue for a while.
Bobby Joe? I guess not. Any further comment on the Sulphur Spring business, this article?
I'm sorry, Peter, I didn't hear what you said.
Is there anybody else that had a comment? Your light came on again, and it looked like you were going to say something.
No, I
Okay,
had just put myself back on mute.
okay. Hearing no further comment, let's move on to Article 13. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $34,878.60 for the operating expenses of Linden Rescue Incorporated? Yes, Vanessa.
Vanessa, I would just put it out there that that's about what it was last year. Hardly any different.
Ann.
I just wanted to point out that there's a report from Linden Rescue on page 23. And it, just reports on what they did last year.
Anybody else? Okay, page 2. Article 14. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $31,357 for the operating expenses and equipment replacement fund of the Sheffield Wheelock Fire Department? Yes, Ann.
I just want to point out that they did a nice report in the town report. It's on page 21 and page 22, and their level funding. They're asking for the same amount that they did last year. And also, it's noteworthy that they got an award. And there's a picture of the award on page 22.
Any further comment on Article 14? Okay, Article 15. I guess there's a missing word there. Shall the raise and appropriate the sum of $30,539 for the Wheelock share of the Wheelock Sheffield transfer station expenses?
Just noting that, thanks, Peter. I was just going to note that on page 20, there's a report, and it is a level funded budget, same as last year.
Okay. Enid, did you have a comment?
Yes, I'm trying to find that $30,000 figure on page 20 somewhere. Is it obvious?
So actually,
yes.
So Wheelock share is in our general fund budget. You can find that on page 17, line 100. That's Wheelock share. Do you see it?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And that includes our appropriation to the transfer station, which is what they include in their budget when they're doing their budget. And then the rest are Wheelock's expenses as far as our employees and that sort of thing.
Any further comment? Yes, Enid.
Is there an expense line item for printing those trash bags?
Not, so.
Yep, go ahead.
Vanessa speaking. So in Wheelock share, not specifically. However, when we appropriate our appropriation to the Sheffield Wheelock, to them, the transfer station, it may be that they use some of those funds for the bags. I just don't know. Sheffield does the accounting for the transfer station. But I am sure that it's in there.
Bobby Joe, did you have something?
No,
Okay, your light went on again.
I don't know why that's happening.
I just assume make a mistake and recognize someone that doesn't really need to be. I don't want to shut anybody out. That's all. A little box goes around your number. That's when there's a noise, and I don't know whether it's you trying to get our attention.
And I don't know why it's doing that because it was on mute the whole time.
I know it sounded like you unmuted it. It made a click.
No.
Like an unmuted noise.
Nope, I haven't.
Are you looking up something, Vanessa? There's noise.
I'm sorry, no, I'm not. I'm just flipping back and forth. I found where you were looking for the cost on the bags. It's in the transfer station's budget, and it is called imprinted trash bags. And you can see that they just use the funding from both of the towns, and it's a line item in their budget. So if you go on page 20, you'll see total income, a line, and then expense, and it's the first one, imprinted trash bags.
But there's nothing under the proposed 2021 budget for that.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, you're right. I don't, so I forgot to tell you, this budget is produced by Sheffield, and he didn't give me their final budget until after I sent this to the printers. This is their draft budget. Sorry.
No problem.
I didn't pull that up. But I do have the final budget here. So if you wanted a copy. I don't know how it differs. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
I think I remember from the joint meeting of the Sheffield and Wheelock select boards in January 2020, where the budget was being discussed, they felt that, when they buy a bunch of bags, they buy a really big supply, and that it was going to last a long time. So I would suggest that that's the reason that there isn't a line item in the proposed 2021 budget for trash bags. But I'm not sure. I suspect that that's what it is. That's the reason.
Yeah, because I don't remember the final budget differing much from this, because I remember when he sent it to me, he said it was only a little bit different. So I can't imagine it's that big or different.
Any more questions about that? We'll move on to Article 6. Perhaps Ruth would like to make a comment.
Hi, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm from Northeast Kingdom Human Services. I'm Ruth Marquette. And I just wanted to say thank you to the town for supporting us all the times in the past when we asked, and we hope you will continue to support our appropriation request. As we do, we provided a summary report for your town report that should be in there. So does anybody have any questions for me?
It sounds like you have a good executive director in there now.
Yes, we are doing very well with our interim leadership right now. They're working, and our Department of Mental Health is really supporting us in improving.
No, I helped out when in the hiring of him in the hospital when he first came to the hospital as a temporary employee. So I really like him, and I know he's done a good job.
Yes, thank you.
Any further comments on these items? Yes, Ann.
Ruth, I just want to thank you for coming to our meeting and wading through this very lengthy, kind of slow-moving discussion. We really appreciate the fact that you joined us to so people could ask questions and make comments. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the time to be here.
So Peter, I don't think you, maybe you did and I missed it. I'm not sure you read the warning. You read the article. Article 16.
Does anyone want me to read it? Speaking of stimulating discussions, I'm happy to. Okay, I guess there's no one else has a comment. Article 17 then. So the town appropriates $650 to the Cobley Public Library for public library services in accordance with 24 VSA section 2691. Discussion on that? I guess the library is still open. I know my wife goes in there a fair amount. What they open, 3 days a week? 6 days a week, and various times. It's all posted. It says you need appointments, but you really don't. Okay. What? Moving right along, yeah. Article 18. Shall the town appropriate $250 to Kingdom Animal Shelter to provide services to residents of the town? Don't want to leave the kitty cats out. Any comment there? They do have a nice building that was donated to them. It's the old telephone, New England telephone building next to Wes Ward's place. Nolan? Okay, what else do we have? I guess dated at Wheelock, Vermont, this 18th day of January 2021, recorded before posting by the select board members. Ann Lawless, Bobby Joe Norcross, and Ryan Hanrahan, and attested by Vanessa. Yes.
Hi, Peter. Thanks. This is Ann. We've made it to the end of all of the articles. So is the next thing just to see if anybody has any other further comments before we adjourn? Or ask or questions about anything?
Yes, Vanessa.
I just wanted to say thank you, everybody, for hanging in there with me for my first year. It was hard. I've had no training because they were all canceled. So the only trainings I've had have been in the last 3 months, and they've all been virtual. So thank you for being patient with me.
Good job.
Yes.
Thank you, Vanessa, for hanging in there during this past year. You've done a wonderful job, and we appreciate it.
Yep, for sure.
I just have one question. The old schoolhouse property above the town hall, is that still property of the town? Where the old schoolhouse was and torn down?
Is that the Clark property?
Is that the name? Right above the town hall.
On Sutton Road, you access it on Sutton Road?
I went up and condemned the place at one point, some Sunday night. It was really horrible inside.
Yeah, I think that's it. And yes, I believe so.
Was it the town's property? That's what I'm asking.
Right. I just don't know which property you're referring to, but if you're referring to the Clark property with like the old garage, that's all nasty and
abandoned.
Is that it?
I guess so.
We do okay. So the town does own the property up behind this building.
That's what I'm asking.
Yep, we do.
Like someone has dumped a bunch of gravel there, and
yeah, we do own that.
Okay.
It was purchased.
Wonder if something like that would be proposed for the enter into some proposal as far as a town hall reconstruction or rehabilitation. I wonder if that property could be used. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, and just no one has thought about it, I guess.
Do you want to speak to that, Enid, since you were on the facilities task force?
And you can if you want to, but basically it was considered and found unsuitable for a town hall at this point.
No
Do you have
parking.
anything else to add?
It was basically it's too small, right? Isn't that what the main issue is?
That was one of them. One of them. There was would have been no parking or easy
That's
access up a hill. Yeah, and if you had it up there and you parked down below, people couldn't walk up the hill to get to the building. There was a few other things, but it was considered.
Okay. So I guess hearing nothing else, perhaps the select board could make a motion to adjourn.
I would be happy to make that motion to adjourn.
Okay. And Bobby Joe, were you seconding
I
it?
second. Yep. Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Indicate somehow. Motion carries. Even Lori.
Well, thank you all for bearing with us. A short meeting, 15 minutes ahead of schedule. Thank you all. Thank you to especially you, Peter.
So we'll see everybody on the 2nd and for the Australian ballot then on all these issues.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
Ann.
you so much.